All right, so the Caitlin Clark, Marina, and Maybrey incident that took place on Tuesday night start is really like taking a turn for. Um, I don't really know how to respond to this because I think that the physicality of the WNBA, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. Far as like, I think it's equally across the league. I mean, I know there's a lot of attention on Clark's games because Caitlin Clark brings a lot of eyeballs, but there's physicality across the league. I mean, there are many players across the league that have been complaining about the physical play and the officiating. Now, are the officials a problem? I guess that's a different subject, but I don't think the officiating, them not really calling fouls or letting them play physical, is really has anything to do solely on Caitlin Clark, because other players have complained about the officiating. Remember the whole big blow up from Brittany Griner a few weeks back when she went off on the officiating. So this is not really geared towards only Caitlin Clark, as many people in the media and many of the observers like to make it out to be. They like to fuel the fire and say, "Oh, the officiating is just allowing Clark to get beat up," and like if it's only her that's getting beat up, or getting fouled hard, or getting physical play. No, this is a widespread thing across the league. Now, like I said, you can debate whether that's good for the league or the officiating has been bad across the league. That's one conversation you can have. But I think first, if you want to get into this honest conversation about the physicality of the WNBA and the Caitlin Clark piece of this, you got to be able to separate the two. And if you're a Clark fan, you don't care. You think it's all Clark. She's the only one being attacked. If you're one of those fringe, newly basketball fans that just started coming on because of Caitlin Clark, and you lean very right wing with your commentary of, oh, she's being attacked because she's white, then you don't care about the facts either. You're looking at it from one side. But you have to look at this across the board, and separate the issues, and don't get caught up in your echo chamber of cult behavior when you think about this. And I personally don't believe that the physicality in the WNBA is a problem. I think it's pretty good. I think this is kind of where the league is headed now. It's good basketball, it's good physical defense, and the women need to toughen up. And this is how it's going to go until there's a widespread change in the league. The NBA in its early days, very physical. Um, it started growing in popularity throughout that time in the late 70s, early 80s to 90s when Magic, Bird, Michael, and them came in. And the game was still very physical up until a point, I guess you could say, into the mid 2000s where they kind of really were like getting rid of some rules that benefit the offensive player. But in this case, I think the WNBA is right now entering their 70s, 80s range. So let this phase out. I mean, it's going to phase out because I think while in a year or two, the WNBA might end up having the Caitlin Clark rules. That might happen at some point. And I wouldn't even have a problem if they did that because they would understand, okay, now she's taking the beating, just like Michael took the beating, right? When he came in, he got beat the hell up by Detroit and the rest of those teams out in the Eastern Conference. And then they said, okay, let's put the Jordan rules in. And then history, the rest is history. So I think Clark will get her rules. She's in her second year. She has to take some bruises, just like the rest of the players are taking. I think as you could say, oh, well, they have to handle her with kid gloves because she's the eyeballs. Okay, you can delegate how you do that. I don't have any issue with Sophie Cunningham sticking up for her, and I don't have an issue with the fouls that she gets because I think it's all part of the game. Um, I don't think the eye incident was on purpose. Like, oh, I'm going to directly poke her in the eye. If you ever played basketball, you've been poked in the eye. I've been poked in the eye playing basketball out in the courts, and it's not a deliberate thing. It's just part of the action. Uh, I don't see this as a huge deal. I know the fans want to make this out to be like some attack on Caitlin Clark solely like she's like a target. So I saw some of the reactions from the commentators, and a lot of the people say that these ladies realize and accept and appreciate Caitlin Clark as the best thing to happen to the league. I think they do appreciate her, but you're not going to just lay down and allow her to do whatever she wants, just like any other player that comes into the league. I don't think if you really respect the competitiveness of basketball, you're not going to lay down. And let's not act like Caitlin Clark doesn't dish out the same trash talk as she gets. She's been a trash talker. She's talked a lot. She's done a lot of mouthing off even back in college. This is not someone who's just like an innocent, quiet bystander that just wants to play ball and she just happens to start getting elbows and pushed to the ground. That's not what's happening. She's been in this game. She knows how this game is played. And to make it seem like she's just like the target of a personal attack, I think that's completely way off. And look, we know where that narrative comes from. It comes from a right-wing new fan base of hers, a small segment of her fan base that's like very right-wing that comes in and wants to try to make this some kind of racial thing because she's white and the league is majority black, and they pretend that she's the first white basketball player to ever play in basketball, which is not true. But that's how they pretend that she was, and she was the only first white good basketball player, which is also not true. You forget about the history. Plenty good white players that came in. They were good right away, very quickly, early on, like the Breonna Stewarts, the Elaine Deladons, the Diana Taurasi, the Sue Birds, and many others in between those players who were very good coming into the league and were amongst some of the best players in basketball. Many of them came in winning multiple NCAA titles. And so this is not like some new phenomenon. It's new as far as like her being able to shoot 30-foot shots and threes and stuff like that and getting eyeballs and excitement. But she's not the first white female basketball player that knew how to play basketball. And that's how many of the fans are pretending or acting like this is the case. We could appreciate the greatness of the excitement that Caitlin Clark brings to the game, but also acknowledging that within the game is going to be played the way the game is going to be played. And until the WNBA decides, okay, we're going to completely change up things to favor Clark, the girls got to play. They got to play the game. And to, like I said, in order to respect the game, if you want to be taken serious as a professional league, you need to be very careful on how you determine the competition. You don't want to make it once. She's already better than a lot of girls. You don't need to tweak the game to make her look even better. So the physicality of her facing the physical play, she's going to have to adjust. Just like any other player. Michael Jordan adjusted slightly, right? Yeah, there was Jordan rules, but to go back to the Jordan point, while I did acknowledge that, yes, there were Jordan rules, Michael Jordan also adjusted. I don't want to take that part away from Jordan. I want to clarify my previous statement on the Jordan rules. Like, I'm not saying that Jordan rules was the sole reason why Jordan got it together and dominated the rest of the next decade. I'm just saying that Jordan also adjusted, right? He gained some weight. He got stronger. He worked out. He adjusted his game. He perfected his mid-range. He didn't drive to the hole as much. So Caitlin Clark has to make another decision on how she readjusts her game. She got to do it. I mean, the girls in the WNBA are a lot bigger and a lot stronger than the ones in college in the Big Ten. And so I think overall, everything is good. You're right? Everything is good. She's got to adjust. They're not going to make it easy for her, and they shouldn't. And she got to adjust. It's not on her to. It's not on the players to open the red carpet. Even though, yes, you acknowledge that Caitlin Clark is solely or one of the main reasons, if not the biggest reason, why the league is growing and seeing a lot of fans, but you also got to delegate, hey, you're a competitor. You got to compete. And if you ever competed in a league, you will understand why that competition is good. You compete. You're not thinking, hey, let me not foul her or let me not play her as hard. Let me lay back so she can make 35 footers. No, you're playing, your job is on the line. You realize that these girls have limited chances to prove that they can make a roster spot. They can be cut. They can be traded. Girls are getting cut right after they get drafted. So there's no time to sit back and be like, oh, okay, I'm just going to let her score 40 on me and not play her up. No, you play her up. I didn't have no issue with the way the defense was played on her that led up to the initial poking in the eye, which was probably an accident. The tough defense, the chest bump, and then the play where Sophie grabbed the girl that went up for the layup, and everyone's trying to make, oh, she threw her elbow on her, she laid the shoulder like a football player. Look, and yeah, slow motion, it looks like a clear offensive foul, of course, but in real time, it's a play. She's driving to the hoop, trying to draw a foul. Sophie wraps her up. Okay, big fucking deal. And then they get a little scuffle. It's not that big of a deal. I don't see this as a huge deal. This is not it. Sophie decided to do something to get paid back for the way they were playing Clark. I guess. But it's not that huge. I don't see it as a big deal. I'm not seeing this as some sign of caution. I just think it's just women being competitive and they understand, hey, this game is physical. And they're in the physical era of their version of the NBA. We want this in the NBA. We was crying. Many people were crying that the NBA stopped being like this. And now you guys are like, oh my God, they're trying to kill Clark. No. She's got to take it. Jordan took it. Many of the greats that came in during that time had to take especially Jordan is probably the best example here because literally Michael Jordan got his ass handed to him physically. I mean, what's the problem? What are we talking about here? We're talking about sports, competitive sports. So let's just keep it on sports. Let's not make it about politics or race and all that other stuff. Just keep it on sports. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. That's all I got to say about that. I mean, the game's the game.